job, but I have not taken any endorsement thus far. I have refused to interview by some which wanted my pledge to let them make my decisions for me. And I really wonder about the people they finally did endorse. And also, I refused to pay for endorsements. So when people came and offered me the endorsement for $3,000 or $5,000, I said, no, we don't do that. I'm relying on the people to elect me. And that means those who are interested can write me at my P.O. Box. That's Strong in the Assembly, 2010, P.O. Box 1742, Paso Robles, California, 93447. And remember, when you go to the polls June 8th, vote strong, not weak. Thank you very much.
Uncle Sam, you got a comment?
Not on all that.
Well, I normally don't say anything after the candidate, but would you forgive me if I ask you a question?
Sure. No, I'll forgive you. You just go ahead and ask the question.
Well, I normally give you the last word and I don't ask any more questions.
All right.
You made your closing statement, but I want to ask you, there's a guy sitting, rotting in jail because of a corrupt judge named David Yaffe in Los Angeles.
You were talking about Mr. Fine.
Exactly. Have you seen that?
I have looked into it to some extent. I really don't know the details. I
Will
have
you look
heard
at
him. I have heard of him, and if there is enough interest to move forward with that, I would be very willing to work with somebody to see that justice is done.
Do you know Article 4, Section 18 of the California Constitution?
Not by heart.
It says you, as Assembly, can impeach, and the Senate can remove that judge. If you're in, and it's as bad, because he's been rotting for 14 months for the crime of catching 400 LA Superior Court judges taking open bribes in clear violation. And Senator Steinberg, who you probably know, got the law changed along with Karen Bass in February of '09. So they made it retroactively legal for them to take bribes from the county corporation. Now, Fred, you got a little legal training.
I had to deal with Steinberg on AB 32, so
I know you did.
About Steinberg.
But can you make law retroactive?
Technically not, but
they did.
But well, and
that's so. Would
you challenge that law?
That's XB 211.
And you challenge that law?
Would you challenge that law? Would you demand the Attorney General challenge it?
If I have any support, I would be willing to definitely look into it and initiate what action is necessary.
Would you put Judge Yaffe on trial? Get him removed?
I don't know. I haven't gotten enough of the facts, actually, Bill.
Okay, that's an honest answer.
Yeah, I've heard your statements. And your allegations are serious.
Well, it's Fine's allegation. He won at the appellate court. The appellate court of California.
It should be looked into. But I don't prejudge anything.
We got to go to tape. I want to show you this race. It's important, people, because whoever runs the Secretary of State's... Oh, thank you, Fred. Thank you for being on the show and letting me yell and rant and rave. This race, Secretary of State, which nobody's paying attention to, and you should, is important. We're going to go to that tape. You'll see Orly Taitz, and you'll see Damon Dunn, who doesn't want to be on my show. Let's go to that, and we'll be back with Nightingale, candidate for governor. Hello.
Hi, how are you doing? I'm just talking with my supporter in Ontario, and I have now a cameraman just arrived in San Jose, and I'm telling him about Damon Dunn. The fact that Damon Dunn has been a Democrat all his life. He became Republican only last year. He defrauded the voters by not putting on his voter registration card the fact that he registered as a Democrat in Florida. And I just came from Florida. I went to the registrar of voters, and I've got even more shocking news. He called the registrar of voters in Florida, asking them to delete from the database his voter registration as a Democrat. And it's very important that each and every Republican in the state of California knows about it. We have a primary June 8th, and we want to make sure that this shield, this ringer, is not winning the primary, because sure enough, he will keep Obama in office for 4 more years.
I'm Wagener here, Orly Taitz, just arrived in San Jose, running for the Secretary of State of California.
Hi.
Insurance companies thought this was a bad idea. Okay, behind me is Dr. Orly Taitz, Esquire. She was born and raised in communist Soviet Union and knows firsthand the bleakness of the totalitarian regime and the deprivation of constitutional rights. She's well known around the country as a constitutional attorney. She's also a dentist. She has 2 PhDs. Constitutional attorney with a case pending in Washington on the unconstitutionality of the recent health care law, Mr. Obama's dual citizenship, and the refusal to present any of his original vital records and other frauds. Please give a big hand for Dr. Orly Taitz.
Thank you. I've been asked, why am I fighting? Why am I working so hard? I've been working pro bono 24/7, 365 for nearly 2 years. I'm fighting because I lived in a communist tyranny. I lived in a country where people have no choice, where people are told what to do. You have to use one health insurance. You have to go to this doctor. You have to study only this in school. I lived in a tyranny where people have no constitutional freedoms, no constitutional rights. And when I saw the beginning of Obama regime, when I saw lack of transparency, when transparency was promised, when I saw somebody saying, I will create 3 million jobs and the country has been losing millions of jobs, I really got scared. I'm scared that my 3 children will end up in the same situation, in a communist totalitarian regime. And if people of this country don't wake up, that's exactly where we will end up.